Hello and welcome everyone. Myself Mijanur Rahaman, and today my topic of discussion is effects of exercise on respiration. Today we will introduce this part and effects of exercise on respiration will be discussed like pulmonary ventilation, diffusing capacity for oxygen, then consumption of oxygen, oxygen depth and VO2 max, then respiratory quotient. So let us introduce first. Muscular exercise brings about a lot of changes on various systems of the body. Degree of changes depends upon the severity of the exercise. Now, effects of exercise on respiration. Effect on pulmonary ventilation. Pulmonary ventilation is the amount of air that enters and leaves the lungs in 1 minute. It is the product of tidal volume and respiratory rate. It is about 6 liters per minute. With a normal tidal volume of 500 ml and respiratory rate of 12 per minute, during exercise hyperventilation, which includes increase in rate and force of respiration, occurs. In moderate exercise, respiratory rate increases to about 30 per minute and tidal volume increases about 2000 ml. Thus, the pulmonary ventilation increases about 60 liters per minute during moderate exercise, and in severe muscular exercise, it rises still further up to 100 liters per minute. Factors which increases the pulmonary ventilation during exercise like higher centers, then chemoreceptors, uh, proprioceptors, then body temperature and acidosis. Then what is higher centers? Higher centers are rate and depth of respiration increase during the onset of exercise, sometimes before starting the exercise. Thought or anticipation of exercise itself increases the rate and force of respiration. It is a psychic phenomenon due to the activation of higher centers like sylvian cortex and motor cortex of the brain. Then higher centers in turn accelerated the respiratory processes by stimulating the respiratory centers. Number two is chemoreceptors. Chemoreceptors are what? Which stimulate the exercise induced hypoxia and hypercapnia. Send impulses to the respiratory centers. Now, respiratory centers in turn increase the rate and force of respiration, and chemoreceptors also helps in this process. Now, proprioceptors are activated during exercise, send impulse to cerebral cortex through the somatic afferent nerves, and cerebral cortex in turn causes hyperventilation by sending impulses to the medullary respiratory centers. Now, body temperature which increases by muscular activity increases the ventilation by stimulating the respiratory centers. Now, acidosis. Acidosis developed during exercise also stimulates the respiratory centers, resulting in hyperventilation. Now, effect on diffusing capacity for oxygen. Diffusing capacity for oxygen is about 21 ml per minute at a resting condition, and it rises up to 45 to 50 ml during moderate exercise because of increased blood flow through pulmonary capillaries. An effect on consumption of oxygen. Oxygen consumed by the tissues, particularly the skeletal muscle, is greatly enhanced during exercise. Because of vasodilation in muscle during exercise, more amount of blood flows through the muscles and more amount of oxygen diffuses into the muscles from the blood. The amount of oxygen utilized by the muscle is directly proportional to the amount of oxygen available. Now, effect on oxygen depth. Oxygen depth is an extra amount of oxygen required by muscles during recovery from severe muscular exercise. After a period of severe muscular exercise, amount of oxygen consumed is greatly increased, and oxygen required is more than the quantity available to the muscle. This much of oxygen is required not only for the activity of the muscle but also for reversal of some metabolic processes such as reformation of glucose from lactic acid accumulated during exercise, and number two, resynthesis of ATP and creatine phosphate, then restoration of the amount of oxygen dissociated from hemoglobin and myoglobin. Thus, for the above reversal phenomena, an extra amount of oxygen must be made available in the body after severe muscular exercise. Oxygen depth is about 6 times more than the amount of oxygen consumed under resting condition. Now, effect on volume oxygen max. VO2 max is the amount of oxygen consumed under maximal aerobic metabolism. It is the product of maximal cardiac output and maximal amount of oxygen consumed by the muscle. In a normal, active, and healthy male, the VO2 max is 35 to 40 ml per kg body weight per minute, and in females, it is 30 to 35 ml per kg body weight per minute. During exercise, VO2 max is increased by 50%. Now, effect on respiratory quotient. Respiratory quotient is the molar ratio of carbon dioxide production to oxygen consumption. Respiratory quotient is resting condition is 1.0, and the during exercise it increases up to 1.5 to 2. However, at the end of the exercise, the respiratory quotient is reduces to 0.5. So this is for now. Thank you so much for watching, and do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. So thank you so much.